Hello everybody, Mike Welsch with another edition of the Daily Racing Form Kentucky Derby Clocker Report, brought to you by Spendthrift Farm, the home of six-time reigning champion In a Mischief, whose three-year-old crop this year in 2025, the best ever, with three horses expected to be entered in the Kentucky Derby Saturday night. All three key contenders: Citizen Bull, Sovereignty, and Tappan Street. Well, one horse who was briefly off the Derby trail, a second one whose Derby status is still up in the air, were in the spotlight this morning during the Kentucky Derby, Kentucky Oaks training session at Churchill Downs. I'm talking about Owen Almighty and Built. Owen Almighty, the Tampa Bay Derby winner. Originally, trainer Brian Lynch said they were going to point for the Pat Day Mile, but after some discussions, the connections decided they wanted to go for the Derby Gold. And Built, right now, he is got the qualifying points to get in the race, but his connection's still uncertain whether to run in the Derby or defer to the Pat Day Mile. That decision, I believe, is expected tomorrow, Friday, with entries to be drawn Saturday night, 7:30, during the races on opening night at Churchill Downs. Both horses went 5/8 of a mile this morning. Completely different styles, though. Owen Almighty went in company with a stablemate. Owen Almighty is one of the horses that people project to be either on the lead or right with the lead from the outset of the Derby. But this morning, trainer Brian Lynch decided to rate him off a stablemate to see if he would rate, and he did. He settled in nicely, a couple of lengths behind his target, drew even at the top of the stretch, just a leisurely opening 3/8 and 37-2, and he finished strong. He drew away readily from his overmatched workmate, finished 5/8 in 101-2, and then galloped out extremely well for a horse that people are questioning his ability to get the distance. And I get it, going 7/8 in the workout, a lot different than going a mile and a quarter in the Kentucky Derby. But I like the energy he showed finishing. He won 6 furlongs in 13-3 and 7/8 in 127-1. Built worked by himself. And we've mentioned, I think, earlier in the week, he doesn't look all that comfortable in the morning when he's galloping. He looked a lot smoother today when allowed to really stretch his leg for a workout. He went alone. He broke off at the 4.5 furlong pole and worked a 1/16 of a mile past the wire. That's 5/8 of a mile for those of you doing the math. Went the first 3/8, 35-4, finished up in 59-1. Was asked the late stages coming through the wire and to finish out into the turn, and then gallop out just okay, 113-1. Both Built and Owen Almighty worked in blinkers today. Built wore blinkers for the first time, although it didn't do that well. He finished 5th in the Louisiana Derby, and I guess he'll have blinkers on if he does go in the Derby. If Built does not go in the Derby, that opens a spot for Neoquis, who is now based out in South Florida, is 21st on the points list. He worked this morning as well at Gulfstream Park. I was able to see the video courtesy of XBTV, able to time Neoquis, who worked a half mile in company, 24, 48-1, and then drew off again from an overmatched workmate, finished 5/8 in 101-3. He's not the flashiest of workhorses, especially when he gets by himself on the gallop outs. So it was more of a maintenance move for Neoquis. They are going to ship him here regardless. I think he leaves tomorrow. If he doesn't go in, doesn't get into the Derby, I believe he's going to go on the grass for the first time in the American Derby on the Kentucky Derby undercard. Other horses of note this morning, well, the two horses of most note are Derby favorite Journalism and Sovereignty, who is likely to be the second choice in the wagering once the smoke clears. Another great morning for Journalism, I thought. He visited the starting gate, schooled in the gate, galloped about 1.5 miles, and I just thought it was eye-catching. He just looks so good, doing it easily. Seems to be handling the new surroundings well. Big thumbs up, again, for Journalism. Sovereignty went in the opposite order. He galloped first and then went to the starting gate. He was a little keen early, I thought, had his head up in the air, maybe fighting his rider a little bit, but then he settled into a nice stride the second time around. I thought he looked good doing it. Now, my one caveat about Sovereignty from the last couple of days, he's got a little warm in the coat. More so today, I thought, than yesterday. He did more today. He went to the gate, too, but it was noticeable. I did not notice that in his last work here, or in his first work here the other last weekend, or in his works down at Payson Park in Florida. So something we'll keep an eye on as we move forward. He will have one more work over the weekend. This morning, the first local appearance of the Japanese Invader Luxor Cafe. He spent about 30 minutes or so on the track. He was up in the chute, as they do before the Japanese horses come on and train on the main track. But he did not come on the main track. He jogged for about a half hour and then went off. Now, this is his first day here. I'm sure we'll see him do a lot more and spend even more time on the track out here tomorrow. One other horse that caught my eye, I didn't get to see everybody train when watching the workouts. It's hard to catch everybody in their routine gallops, but I thought East Avenue, who has been going early in the morning, immediately after the track opened. Trainer Brendan Walsh switched that up today. He came out during the Derby Oaks training session. I thought he looked good again. He always looks good in the morning. He was one of the superstars as far as I was concerned heading into the Breeders' Cup. Unfortunately, we all know what happened there. That race was they're off, you lose right at the break. He was eliminated, but he has looked good here, trending up to the Derby. And like Owen Almighty, he's going to be one of the pace setters in the race. So that's a capsule of what happened today. We're going to start getting more and more of these final workouts in as we move forward. Both Oaks and both Derby and some Oaks fillies as well tomorrow, and then the majority will be over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. There is some rain in the forecast later this afternoon. Whether that will disrupt tomorrow's training schedule remains to be seen. As for journalism, trainer Michael McCarthy has not made a call yet. He could go tomorrow or he could go Saturday. My guess is we'll probably see him on Saturday, and you'll see us here for another week with the Kentucky Derby, for the best coverage of the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks 2025. Leave it right here at DRF.com.